So for our next section on building a positive culture in your program, we're talking about how to build some leadership in your program, because student leadership can make a huge difference in how your program culture is going to grow and flourish. So I loved this quote by Teresa Hoover. She said, "Empowered music students have ownership of their music making. They are excited to learn and more likely to engage in class. Leaders naturally want to be successful and want the same success for those they lead. When we allow students to be leaders in their music classes, we strengthen their path to become lifelong musicians." It's so powerful to me. I love this. So when our students take leadership roles, they're going to naturally want to be more successful, and then they're naturally going to want their peers to be more successful. It's such a win-win when we build student leadership in our classrooms. So who can be a leader? A student in your program who has the desire to be a leader can be a leader. A student who wants to help. What about those students that don't seem to care? Sometimes those can turn into leaders. What about a shy or quiet student? Those students can also be leaders. So there's so many types of leadership roles for students. So I just challenge you to think about not discounting students who seem aloof or quiet or shy, because sometimes we get really focused on the kids that are outgoing or loud, but often the quiet kids have so much to offer, and they can actually build some of the best leadership skills. So here are some types of jobs that you can give leaders, all kinds of things: attendance, concert setup. Now, clearly, I do not let students do attendance only. I obviously do attendance and then check it against theirs. But again, it's just a quick check. It's so nice. Concert setup, conducting, musical roles, inventory, event planning, all warm-ups. You can do all kinds of things. There are so many types of leadership jobs for our students. So why have student leaders? Student leaders can be advocates for your program. In fact, they're usually some of the best advocates because they have a natural investment into the program. They can help with administrative and organizational tasks. Our music library would be nothing without our music librarians that help us out. They create buy-in in your program. They help get other students pumped up, and they create that culture, and that's so important. They can help you make decisions like banquet themes, which I do not want to make. They help guide decisions. They really can serve as a liaison or a link between the director and the students. And actually, it's creating leaders for the future. This experience they're getting with you may shape them into being a leader in other aspects moving forward. So some traits to consider when thinking about leaders. We want leaders to be able to use self-analysis, really to think about what they're good at and know their strengths and their weaknesses. We want students to be motivated. We want them to inspire others to act. We want student leaders to have respect and be respected. That's a really important one. You don't want to put a student in a leadership position if they're not well respected at all by their peers. We want students to be problem solvers and look for solutions for things instead of only bringing problems. We want students that are leaders to have discipline and be able to follow through and complete tasks. It's really important when we're handing over roles to students that they're able to complete them through to the end. And finally, we want students that are flexible. We want them to adapt and be able to move quickly as situations change. We know with school, we can have to change dates or things all the time, so we have to have students that are flexible in these leadership roles. So from the teacher view, you have to decide what you're comfortable letting students take over or be involved in. Every teacher is different. Every teacher's comfort level is different. I'm a little bit of a control freak, so it has taken me a while to get comfortable with student leaders. I have colleagues that are so much better at this than I am. So you have to really weigh your own self and decide what you're comfortable with turning over. Have a plan for how you choose your leaders and what jobs you want filled for them. So know exactly what roles you need filled, and then have a plan for how you're going to do that. A student orchestra council can be a really powerful tool if used effectively. It can also be a disaster if used ineffectively. So make sure you have a plan for that, but really take advantage of student leaders. They're so helpful. And finally, remember you are in charge, you are the teacher, and you're always the ultimate decision maker in your program. So don't be afraid to pull rank. But you can't be unpredictable either. So I think it's very important to have clear and defined roles for students so that it doesn't lead to confusion of them thinking they have different roles than they do. So some great resources out there that are free for students and for you to look at. Scott Lang, he has some paid resources, but he also has quite a bit of free resources for student leadership. Also a lot of YouTube videos that he does that are free for student leadership. Dr. Tim, we all know and seen Dr. Tim speak. Great speaker about student leaders. Some great resources online from him. The Student Leadership Challenge and Music for All. There are resources out there on all of these that are free, that are great places to start if you're working on developing student leadership in your ensemble. So this is a video from Dr. Tim, and he's talking about student leadership. And I thought this was just such a great clip on when we're thinking about selecting leaders.
I don't think there's any question now that in all of our ensembles, leadership has become an important thing, student leadership. And for years, I think we just kind of passed out titles to people and said, well, you'll do this, without a lot of training. Over the years, after spending a lot of time learning, studying, researching student leadership, certain things come true. There's a part of student leadership that hides. And as we pick out the people we're going to put in charge of people of their own age, take a look and see if these qualities, these character attributes, aren't part of the foundation that you're looking for in your students' leaders. First of all, we're looking for young people that are honest, that simply tell the truth, that don't fabricate or sidestep, but are willing to take the responsibility of the truth. Another part that hides is integrity, which basically means I'll do what I say I'm going to do. I won't start out getting all excited about it and then just kind of let it go, but I have the integrity to go from beginning to end. Another part that hides is dignity, because let's be honest about it. Our student leaders have to be great role models. So their behavior sets the standard for everybody. Are they dignified? Do they know how to behave? To be is to have. Do they know what to do in certain situations? Certainly, we want them to be ethical, to know the difference between right and wrong, and to choose right. And the last part that hides is sensitivity. In today's world, where everybody knows seemingly everything about everybody, are we sensitive in the way we communicate with the people around us? Those are the pillars. And if we don't do that, sometimes we get the wrong person, because that's the part of leadership that often hides. Something to think about. Thanks.
So really, I thought that was just a really succinct and great way to point out what we need to be looking for with our student leaders. And even that would be great to play for kids that are interested in student leadership, because those are great qualities that we want in our student leaders.